I'll take Houston's second and third and Tom Savage for a first.
No.
I just want to see a reaction.
No.
But the fact is, with Jimmy G's contract, now that narrows the scope of how many teams can actually sign Cousins.
It does. Yeah, it eliminates one possibility. The Browns are still a possibility.
Yes. Eliminate the Niners, you're saying, right?
Yeah, eliminate the Niners.
All right, because then we said if Washington chose to tag him, there's only really 2 teams right now that could take that. And then I looked at it again. The Jets could possibly take. They're like 70-something million.
Yep.
But that's not counting their draft class. Jets draft class is probably going to cost anywhere between 8 and 9 million.
Yep.
So that 72 goes down to 63. You spend 34. Obviously, you'll redo the contract once you get him in the building. But they have a lot of needs.
Even if you're redoing that contract, though, you're not getting it below 25.
No.
It's too big. No. It'll be too big a contract. You're not going to get his cap number below 25, even if you sign him to a contract extension. Because you have to figure at some point, you can either take a bunch of the base salary and transition it into a bonus, but you can only cut a piece of pizza so many ways, right? Like, it's all still there. You just have... It's still the same pizza. It's just in 14 different slices or 12 different slices or 8 different slices. It doesn't matter. It's still a whole pizza.
So that essentially eliminates Buffalo, though.
It does. Yeah, it really does. Because if you're signing the Bills, if the Bills are going to make a move and try and get him, they got to free up space in order to bring him in the building and restructure his contract. So if you had to name guys that the Bills could legitimately cut for Kirk Cousins, because that's really what you'd be doing. You're cutting somebody to bring somebody else in. Who would you release, and who's your target to replace him? Right? I mean, that's what the game is here. You got to cut, replace. So who would be your cut? Who would be your replace?
We had a discussion. We've been a couple fans on Twitter. We've been going back and forth as far as. In order to, it's almost like trying to figure out a Rubik's Cube at this point, trying to get Cousins in the building, as far as into one Bills drive. I'm just saying, okay, so you got to cut guys. Well, the problem with cutting guys, you got to replace them, like you said. So the top contracts are what you initially have to look at. So you want to try to trade Glenn. You want to cut Hughes. You cut Tyrod. Wood, he's still going to be under contract for the Bills, depending on what they want to do, because he seems like he wants to work with them. As far as costing them the least, what still getting his, but you have to look at those contracts. So the easiest way you would do it was those 3 things you take care of, and you replace it with Cousins in your first 2 draft picks.
Right.
So you get a DN, left tackle, and you get Cousins. The problem with that is why the Bills were successful last year was they got these guys that were on $2 to $4 million deals, role players that you can plug and play. And if you do this, that whole scenario with Cousins, it's going to hit next year's cap, and you're not going to have the depth that you did this year.
Right.
With as far as guys, I don't know how many sleepers these guys are able to find because they don't have anything past a 5th round pick.
Right.
So the problem is that's the scenario that's facing the Bills right now. If you're a pro Cousins guy, now I'm not a pro Cousins guy. I don't think you're a pro Cousins guy, just because of the financials of it.
Yeah, it really has nothing to do with the level of quarterback that he is or isn't. It is about the money. Like, that is solely what it is for me. It is about trying to make the numbers work, because that makes the argument simple to me. It is, can I make the numbers work? Okay, now is this guy really a legitimate player for this team? Does he fit? And a lot of guys might look at it differently. Is he a fit? Let's find the money for him. I just have a different perspective on that. And so you're saying you got to get rid of Glenn, you got to trade Glenn
from financial standpoint.
Oh, right, you got.
I don't want to trade Glenn, but he may have hit his ceiling already. But then it could be a scenario where it's Peters and we get rid of him too soon. Yeah, and he's got a ring. He's getting fitted for a ring right now. But I think financially, what you would have to do is you have to look at the top guys. You got Hughes, Glenn, and Tyrod to try to get Cousins in the building.
But even if you cut Tyrod and Hughes, that doesn't cover restructuring the Cousins deal.
It'll get $20 million of the 29 or 30 that you would need this year.
Yeah.
Okay, and that extra that extra 8 or 10 million will probably be when you trade Glenn.
Okay.
So
you're still looking at having
tight.
nothing. You have nothing to fill the rest of your
exactly.
roster.
It's very tight. You're not going to have any money to fill those role players. Which then heightens how good you have to do at the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so these 5 or 6 guys, or how many? I can't remember how many picks they have, but it was like all these guys have to start.
Yeah. You're right.
5th round all the way up have to start.
You're right. If you're signing Cousins, you're banking on the draft.
Yes.
The draft cannot fail.
No.
You have to walk away with 75% starters.
Okay.
They all have to start.
Easily. Your first 2 first-round picks and your 2 second-round picks have to start.
Yeah. You're absolutely right about that. And that's the thing that I struggle with bringing in Cousins, because if I'm looking at bringing in, Dable, how do those two stars
How do they work?
align?
Yeah,
how
I
do
don't
those
know.
2 stars align?
I would be so much more of a fan if McVay was coming with him or Shanahan came with him. But there's too many unknowns for him.
Mm-hmm.
We saw his drop off in production this year.
Yep.
Everyone, he can have a stinker of a season.
With the
not
same
just
weapons.
him.
It's not like it was any different. It was the same. It was the same weapon.
It was, it wasn't that. He lost Jackson. Pryor didn't pan out to what he was supposed to be. Reed was hurt often. I understand that, but if you're going to be in a division with a guy that most people say does the most with no weapons and Tom Brady, you're going to have to produce. Here's the thing that I was thinking about. If you're able to lure Cousins in, does that increase the fact that the Bills, even though they have to hit on their draft, would trade one of their first-round picks for a second and a third?
Yeah.
Just to try to get more bodies at a cheaper cost?
You need to. You got to fill the rest of your roster, and those rookie contracts are, once you get in the second and third round, they become just as affordable as signing a veteran player, to league minimum. So.